The stars were quiet, too quiet. In the far corner of the galaxy where old space routes faded and maps ended, one small colony sent a signal. It was weak, broken, and full of fear. Double quotes, please. Dot, dot. Anyone, dot, dot, dot. Help us. They're coming. They're already here. Dot, dot. What? The message repeated. Over and over. It played like a ghost's whisper. The colony's name was Orionine. It was peaceful. Green planet with blue lakes and soft winds. It had no army, no weapons. Only families, farmers, scientists, the attackers. Came without warning. They weren't ships. Were living things dark, sharp, and fast. They moved through the sky like shadows. They burned villages. They pulled people into the clouds. No one knew why. No one knew what they were. Just ... death. The Colony Council had sent the message to the Galactic Council first. The message reached every major star system. But the Council didn't reply. Not truly. They held meetings. They debated. Some said, "It's too far." Others said, "It's a trap." And most said, "It's not our problem." So the signal repeated, and the people of Orionine kept dying, but far away, on a planet no longer part of the Council. Someone else heard it. Earth.A. Silent Observer Station picked up the signal. The station was deep underground, hidden under ice and rock on the dark side of Jupiter's moon, Callisto. No one had used it in decades. Its lights flickered on. An ancient AI woke from sleep. It listened. It processed. Sigane. Earth received the call. But Earth did not speak. It did not send questions. It did not form a committee. It sent something else. A ship. It left Earth space within minutes. No banners, no diplomats. No warning. The ship's name was Vengeance 1. The people of Orionine didn't know who sent the ship. They only saw the sky. Change, the clouds split like glass. The wind stopped. The stars disappeared, and then it came. Huge, silent, blacker than space. The human warship didn't shine. It absorbed light. Its body was made of alloy, never seen before. No windows, no wings, just sharp edges and massive gravity. It floated above the planet like a god with no face. From its belly, hundreds of smaller shapes dropped. At first, the colonists screamed. He thought more monsters had come, but these weren't monsters. They were machines, smooth, armored, fast. Some ran across the fields with legs like wolves. Others flew low, scanning the ground. A few just stood tall metal beings with glowing red eyes. Saying nothing, then came the soldiers. They didn't look like legends. They looked worse. Their armor was dark gray. No skin showed. Their helmets had no eyes, just a long, thin slit of red light across the face. They didn't talk. They didn't move like people. They moved like death. The people didn't know what to do, are they? Human. Someone whispered. No one answered. The soldiers didn't speak to the colonists. They didn't wave. They didn't comfort. They walked. Into the burning villages. Into the smoke, and then the screaming stopped. Not from the colonists. From the invaders, one by one, the shadow beasts were hunted, tracked, burned, crushed. The machines worked fast, efficient. Every shot hit, every blade cut clean. It was not a battle, it was a message. High above, inside Vengeance 1, the ships. AI watched. No crew was needed. The ship flew itself, controlled by thought, code, and cold purpose. But it had passengers. 3 humans sat in deep black chairs, their minds connected to the ship's neural core. They watched the planet through. Cameras, drones, satellites. One of them, a woman with gray hair and sharp eyes, spoke first. They didn't call for us. The second, a young man with a metal hand, replied, "No," but no one else came. The third didn't speak. He only stared. He had one eye blue. The other was gone, replaced with a small red lens. He whispered, "Do you hear it?" The woman frowned. "Hear what?" He didn't blink. The crying. It's not just this planet. The colony was saved within 6 hours. No, enemy remained. Not one. But now the people were afraid of their rescuers. The human soldiers stood like statues. They didn't leave. They didn't report. They just waited. And then the sky opened again. 3 more ships arrived. Not alien. Human, each one different. Each one deadly. And each one carried the same symbol, a red flame inside a black circle. The deadliest. Force in the stars had returned, and no one knew why. The Galactic Council panicked. The news spread fast. Orion 29 saved. By humans. Impossible. Earth was silent. Closed. Dangerous? Someone asked, why now? Someone else whispered, what woke them? A few remembered Earth's last message, sent 70 years ago. We will not speak again if we return. It will be for war. Now they had returned, but it wasn't war. It was worse. It was mercy, the humankind, and mercy from Earth came with steel, fire, and silence. Deep in the cold chambers of Vengeance 1, the ship recorded the last voice from Orion-9. A child's S. Whisper on an open channel, thank you, ... but who are you? The system replied without emotion, we are humanity. You called for rescue. We answered. The screen went dark, and the stars waited for what would come next. The silence after the battle was worse than the fighting. Villages that had burned now stood in cold ash. Roads once full of screams were quiet. The people of Orion didn't cheer. They didn't run. They stood still, watching the human soldiers. Guard the skies like shadows. No one told them what to do. No one told them if they were safe now. Children clung to their parents. The old ones prayed. The leaders gathered in the main council building, their hands shaking. Should we talk to them? One asked how. They don't respond. They don't even look at us. They're waiting for what? No one had answers. Then from the sky something massive dropped again. A piece of Vengeance 1 itself detached. A cube the size of a city block landed near the council building. It made no sound. No warning, just ... thud. Then it opened. Inside was one chair. Empty, cold. A blue light glowed in the air. A voice spoke male, calm, emotionless. Bring one. A leader, lone. The council argued. No one wanted to go. In the end, it was a young scientist named Lyra who stepped forward. She was not a fighter, but she had sent the original distress. Call, she had waited. She had hoped. She had watched people die. Now she would face whatever came. Next. Lyra walked alone into the cube, the walls closed behind her. She didn't scream. She didn't pray. She sat in the chair, and everything changed. Her mind swam. She was no longer inside the cube. She was somewhere else, or at least it felt that way. Endless white surrounded her. Floating in the air was a man, no, not a man, a figure. Black uniform, face hidden behind a red visor. Floating above the floor like he weighed nothing. His voice came without moving his mouth. You asked for rescue. Lyra nodded slowly. Yes, our people were dying. No one answered. We did. She looked around. But why now? Where have you been? Help us. The figure said nothing for a moment. Then, because someone has to. She stared. You're human. The figure tilted his head. That word has changed. We are not what we were. We are not what you remember. Lyra stepped forward, trembling. What? Are you now? The air grew cold. We are what happens when mercy is forgotten. We are what remains when peace is refused. Her voice cracked. You came to save us. We came to finish what no one else would start. She swallowed hard. Are you going to stay? We never stay. We erase threats. We leave. And we watch. She looked down. Then what happens now? The red visor flared. Now we warn the stars. This world is under protection. Any who touch it again will see Earth's fire. The room began to fade. Thank you, she whispered. The last thing she heard was the voice again. Softer now. Don't. Thank us, just live. She awoke outside the cube. The council members ran to her. What happened? Are we safe? She didn't know how to explain, so she said the only thing that felt true. They saved us. But I don't think they did it for us. I think they did it for themselves. Back in orbit, Vengeance 1 turned slowly. It did not send more messages. It simply sent coordinates 7 other colonies, across the stars, all in danger, and then it disappeared. 1 second it was there. The next, it's nothing, just a trail of silence and empty sky. On Earth, deep inside a hidden chamber beneath Antarctica. The signals arrived. Other distress calls, weak, scared, begging. A group of silent watchers reviewed them. Men and women who had no names anymore. Only ranks. Only scars. One of them spoke. 7 more planets. Another nodded. How many do we answer? All of them among them stood. All of them. In the Galactic Council, panic grew. News came fast. Other human warships had arrived on other planets, each different, each deadly, each with a different name. Endless night ashfall mercy burn. Each ship appeared suddenly. Fought alone. Spoke only once. Rescue received. Earth has answered. In silence. The council argued. This is not rescue. This is power. They can't just act without us. We have to stop them. But no one moved, because deep inside, they all remembered the last human war, and they remembered who won. Back on Orion 9, the skies had returned to blue. The birds sang again. Children played again. But no one forgot what happened. Some still watched. The skies at night, not in fear of the enemy, but waiting for the black. Ships to return, not as monsters, but as guardians, silent, cold, and merciless. To only those who deserved it. Inside the recording files of Vengeance 1, the last message was left unsynced. It was a child's voice again. Maybe from Orion 9, maybe from long ago. Are you the monsters? The ship did not answer, because monsters bring chaos. Humans had brought order. Through fear, through fire. And sometimes, that's what rescue looks like. The wind was still. The sky above Orion 9 was blue again. The fires were gone. The screams had stopped. The people had been saved. But no one felt peace. Not yet. The human warship. Vengeance 1 still floated in orbit like a dark moon. Its surface was smooth, black, and cold. It didn't blink. It didn't speak. It simply watched. The people of Orion had expected help. They had begged for it. But what came was not help. A force of machines. A force of fire. A force that did not answer to anyone days past. The people tried to go back to normal. Farmers returned to the fields. Builders began to rebuild homes. Children tried to play again, but the silence above remained. And then the silence broke. The sky turned red. Clouds twisted. The sun dimmed. And 3 shadows appeared. Massive, slow-moving shapes dropping from high orbit. They were ships, but not like the first one. These were different. Each had its own shape, its own design, its own fear. One looked like a dagger, stretched across the sky. The second was round, like a broken moon made of metal. The third had wings that pulsed with red light. They did not land. They hovered low. Above the surface, from each one, pods dropped. Hundreds, the ground shook. Trees snapped. Dust rose like fog. The people watched from windows, from bunkers, from behind rubble. They held their breath. Was this a second wave of war, or something worse? From the pods came machines, not soldiers, not tanks, builders tall, 4-legged machines with long arms and glowing tools. They moved quickly, silently, organizing debris, rebuilding walls, repairing roads. Small drones flew between them, mapping every inch of the city in minutes. Entire areas that had been in ruins were clean, repaired, stronger than before. And yet, no one had asked them to do this. Then came the black towers from the ships. 10 tall black towers were dropped across Orion 9. Each tower was the height of a mountain, smooth like glass, humming with hidden energy. No one knew what they were. They had no doors, no lights, no signs, just one symbol on each, a red flame inside a black circle, the symbol of Earth's fire. Counselor Marin, leader of Orion 9, stood before one of the towers. Soldiers and engineers followed behind him. He raised a hand, reached out, and touched the smooth black surface. It was cold, solid. The tower didn't react. He turned to the others. He didn't ask for this. A young technician whispered, "Maybe it's a gift." "Or maybe," Marin said, "it's a warning." Back in orbit, inside Vengeance 1, the AI activated its inner core. Its voice echoed through the silent ship. Phase 2 complete. Defense nodes deployed. Resource aid active. In a hidden chamber, the 3 human minds, those who piloted the ship, remained in deep link. Their bodies were still, but their thoughts moved faster than light. One of them, the woman with gray hair, whispered, "They'll fear us more now." The man with the metal hand answered, "Good. Fear makes peace last longer." The third, the one with one real eye and one red lens, spoke slowly. "They haven't understood yet. This is just a rescue, not war." The woman replied, "But they will wonder, what if we stop rescuing? What happens then?" The red lens man smiled. "Then they remember why we left in the first place." The Galactic Council was in chaos. A live stream from Orion 9 had reached them. The council watched the massive towers, the black ships, the silent machines rebuilding entire cities. One alien senator stood. "This is not peacekeeping. This is invasion," another snapped back. "They haven't fired a shot since the rescue." Third said, "And yet they now control an entire planet's orbit." The vote was called. Do we confront the humans? The answer was clear. No, not yet. Not while they still didn't understand what Earth had become. Meanwhile, rumors spread. Other colonies in distant sectors reported seeing black ships. A station in Sector V11 claimed a human fleet had passed them by without stopping, but the enemy that had been hunting them was gone. Another world reported their moon had been struck by something invisible. The attackers had fled. No bodies found, no remains, just silence. And always the same symbol, the red flame in a black circle. On Orion 9 days passed. Then weeks. The towers remained, but no human came to speak, until one morning a voice filled the sky, loud, clear, in every language at once. "This world is now secure. Earth will not remain, but its fire will watch. You are free to live. If war comes again, the fire will return." And then the ships rose. All of them. They vanished into the sky. Leaving behind only the towers and rebuilt cities, the people stood. In silence, watching, breathing, alive, but forever changed. In the homes of Orion 9. People told stories to their children. Stories of the sky burning red dot, stories of metal giants who saved them, stories of humans who didn't speak, didn't wave, didn't smile, but came anyway. Not for thanks, not for glory, just to do what others wouldn't. In the council, fear turned to questions. One whispered, "Are they watching us too?" Another asked, "Will they answer every call now?" Third shivered, "No, I think they choose." And then the question no one wanted to say out loud. What if one day Earth doesn't answer with rescue, but with judgment? Far away, hidden among stars no one dared to chart, a fleet of vengeance ships floated in silence. Each ship, asleep, each crew, dreaming, waiting for the next signal, because humanity had not returned for power, not yet. They had returned to remind the stars. Some forces come with banners. Others come with fire, and fire never asks permission. Far from Orion 9, beyond the trade systems and quiet stars, sat a dark and broken place. A world without water, without light, without peace, This was Varnak Prime, the homeworld of the Kyrox warlords, conquerors of systems, destroyers of fleets, eaters of planets. They had ruled this part of the galaxy for 200 years, and no one had ever stopped them. Inside the throne chamber, carved from stone and bone, Warlord Krathanol, the Voidborn, sat on a mountain of broken helmets. Every one of them came from a dead soldier. He laughed as the report came in. "A colony was saved," said his scout. "Orionine, we were testing their strength. It was taken from us." Krathanol didn't stop laughing. "Which empire sent?" "Their army?" he asked. The scout looked down. "None. It wasn't an empire." The warlord stood, 8 feet tall, armored in metal and flesh. "Who then?" The scout hesitated. "The humans." The laughter stopped. Krathanol growled. "Humans are gone." "No, warlord," the scout said. "They returned. One ship. Alone. It killed all. Our harvesters." Another warlord, sitting in the dark, hissed. "They sent one ship." "Yes, and it destroyed everything." "Yes." Krathanol's face twisted into a grin. "Good." The other warlords looked at him in shock. He cracked his neck and stepped forward. "I was beginning to get bored. Send word. We test them." Again, in the deep darks of space, Kyrox's fleet moved like a swarm of blades, fast, heavy, hungry. Over 300 warships, filled with energy beasts, destroyer pods, and elite killers. They had crushed planets before. They had never lost. They would meet the humans and see what their fire was made of. Back on Orion 9, the towers still hummed. Then, without warning, the towers flared. Red light shot into the sky. The people froze. From the rebuilt city center, new signal was released, but not by anyone on the planet. The tower had sent it. On its own, in the black between stars, Vengeance 1 received the signal. Its lights woke, its engines turned, its weapons unfolded. At the same moment, Earth received the signal to High Command watched. "They're coming," someone whispered. "How? Many ships?" The screen blinked. 312. The commander didn't move. She simply said, "Send a message." "To who?" Her voice was cold. "To Vengeance 1. Tell them. No mercy." The Kyrox fleet entered Orion space like fireflies of death. They laughed. "They didn't even build a defense fleet. I sent one ship last time. Let's see them do it again." Then the scanners blinked. 1, ... then 5, then 50. Then 100 ships, hundreds, all black, all human. No sound, no calls, no movement. Just waiting. The Kyrox didn't wait. They opened fire, missiles, beams, graviton, lances. All weapons flew toward the human fleet. For 5 full seconds, the space between them was a storm of war, and then nothing. Every missile stopped mid-flight. Every beam died out. The battlefield went dark. The Kyrox were confused, and then they saw it. The space around the human fleet was glowing, bent, warped. Protected, one of the human ships moved forward. Vengeance 1. Its voice rang through the system. "We offered peace. You demanded war, so now we teach." The Kyrox fleet moved fast. They had more numbers, more guns, more beasts. But it didn't matter. Human ships didn't just fight. They predicted, they adapted, they hunted. The black ships split into small squadrons. Each one surrounded a Kyrex group and ended it fast, silent. With cold weapons and colder precision, the Kyrex screamed. They tried to run, but the stars bent against them. Human gravity. Fields pulled them back. Time slowed inside their ships. Their weapons turned cold. Even their thoughts felt slower. This wasn't a battle. It was a lesson, right? Noel watched from a command cruiser at the edge of the system. His face was pale. His arms trembled. This isn't war," he growled. "This is punishment." His second-in-command asked, "Do we run?" Krathanol said nothing. Then a voice appeared inside his ship. Not on the screen, inside his mind. You laughed at empires? We are not an empire. We are humanity, and you, are done. The next moment, his cruiser simply vanished. No explosion. No damage. No trace gone, like it had never existed. The Kyrox fleet collapsed. What was left of it tried to escape. Only 2 ships made it, and even they were marked. Their engines burned with red scars. A warning, a sign. Don't return. The people of Orion saw the battle from their skies. Bright. Flashes, then silence. They didn't celebrate. They couldn't understand what they had just seen, but they knew one thing. They were safe, because something terrible now watched over them in the council. The reports arrived. The Kyrox had been defeated. No, erased. The fear spread again. The council leader whispered. The warlords who laughed at empires just died laughing. And no one else dared to speak. Back on Earth, the High Command stood. In silence, one general asked, "Do we continue?" The commander nodded once. Next signal. Next rescue. And somewhere in the galaxy, another world screamed for help. And something black, cold, and full of fire began to move. Because now, everyone knew when humanity answers a call out, it never comes with kindness. The sky over Delta IV was once bright. Now it was full of fire. Humanity's rescue fleet had landed weeks ago, bringing safety, supplies, and steel. The alien planet that had once whispered death was now guarded by the deadliest force ever seen human. Soldiers and machines working like one. They had turned the old outpost into a fortress. Tall railgun towers stood over scorched cliffs. Gunships watched from above. Patrol drones moved like hawks in the sky, but no one saw what hid in the dark. Valleys below, it started on a quiet night. Sergeant Leah Cole was on watch duty. Her suit's night vision showed nothing but sand, smoke, and broken metal across the wasteland, yet she felt it. A pressure. Like something was breathing too close. She tapped her cum. Base, this is Cole. I feel movement. South sector. Request drone sweep. A crackling voice replied, "Sweep initiated. Stay alert." 10 seconds later, her HUD flashed red. Drones went silent. All 3, they didn't go offline, they vanished. Cole blinked. What the hell? She raised her rifle and scanned the darkness. Her finger hovered on the trigger. Something was coming. She couldn't see it, couldn't hear it. But it was there. Then she heard it. A low hum. Almost like metal. Grinding against itself. It was deep. Wrong. It made her bones. Cold daughter cum exploded with noise. Screams, gunfire, static. Then silence. Base was gone. Cole turned and ran 30 minutes earlier. Deep inside the command bunker, Commander Reeve had been studying the latest. Scans he had seen strange heat spikes across the southern region. Not natural, not storms, not animals. Something intelligent, Commander, a tech whispered. I think they're learning. Reeve frowned. Who? The tech's voice dropped. Lower. The ones who sent the first signal? They're not asking for help. They're setting traps. That's when the power failed. Not just in the room, but across the entire base. Outside. Across the black ridges. Strange shapes crawled forward. They had no engines, no lights, just long limbs and faces wrapped in metal. Creatures that wore armor not built but grown. Creatures who had watched, waited, evolved. They had let the humans build their fortress, because now they knew how to take it apart. One by one, Private Juno was guarding the eastern perimeter when she saw movement. A tall, thin figure stepped out. From the fog, no suit, no armor. It's a strange metal wrapped around its skin. It stared at her through red eyes that didn't blink. Juno aimed her rifle. Don't move. The figure didn't stop. She fired. The bullets passed through. It tanned hit nothing. It was a projection. But before she could react, something sharp and real lunged from behind. She didn't scream. Her body was gone before sound could leave her mouth. Inside the base, panic exploded. Lights flickered. Doors locked or refused to open. Soldiers ran without orders. Communications scrambled. Commander Reeves stood his ground. "We hold," he shouted. "They think we'll run, we'll show them how humans fight." But the enemy was already inside. Leah? Cole made it back to the gates, blood on her suit and fear in her heart. The walls of the base were burning. She saw strange marks etched into the steel, symbols like warnings left behind. She climbed up the east tower and fired flares into the sky, signaling to any nearby units that survivors were still here. But something climbed the tower with her. She turned and froze. The thing was tall, hunched, covered in cables. Its head was a broken satellite dish, and its mouth held wires instead of teeth. It moved like it remembered being human, but wasn't anymore. Leah didn't scream. She jumped, better to fall than be taken. Far above, orbiting silently, the Talon class, destroyer Resolute Blade watched the chaos. The AI on board, codenamed RK-9, sent a message to Earth. Delta 4 under assault. Unseen enemy uses advanced deception and phase shift tactics. High casualties. Human defenses compromised. Requesting Protocol Obsidian. Back on Earth, deep beneath the Andes Mountains, a light turned red. Protocol Obsidian was the final answer. It was not rescued. It was revenge. And so, as the survivors bled under a burning sky, Earth prepared to send something worse than war. It prepared to send the ones who don't come back. Humanity had answered the call for rescue, but now it knew. This wasn't a mission to save. It was a mission to end. The stars were quiet. It was too quiet. For days, no new distress call came from the far-gone system. For weeks, the Galactic Council had no news from the outer colonies, and then silence spread. A deep, cold silence, like something terrible had eaten whole planets and erased all memory of them. But this silence didn't go unnoticed in a far corner of space, aboard the human expeditionary command ship Revenant. Sensors picked up something strange, a sudden burst of energy on a forgotten channel. The signature didn't match any known pattern. It wasn't a language. It was more like a knock. A slow, deliberate knock. General Varialock stood on the command bridge. Her jaw was tense. Her eyes stared at the screen as if she could pull meaning from that sound by will alone. "That's not a distress call," her second-in-command muttered. "That's a dare. Stare." And it was, because that signal came from the edge of Council space territory declared dead and unreachable. Systems that had gone dark after the rescue mission started by the Galactic High Court. No one had returned. The ship's scent had been lost, destroyed, swallowed by something that didn't want to be found. But humans didn't forget their people. They didn't forget the cries for help that echoed months ago. And they didn't forgive the silence that followed. "Set course," Varia said. "Take us to the last known coordinates. Prep all combat wings. Full gear. We're not bringing peace this time." The crew moved fast. Everyone on the Revenant knew the mission. And more importantly, they knew what it meant if humanity arrived. Too late. But they wouldn't be late. They would arrive like a storm with fire in its heart. The Revenant jumped into warp. Its escorts followed a fleet of ships wrapped in black armor, with red warning lights glowing like angry eyes. These weren't rescue vessels anymore. They were warborn, machines of vengeance. As they emerged in the dead system, the silence hit hard. Empty space stretched endlessly. The planets were burned-out shells, no signs of life. Only ruins, until the knock came again. Louder, closer, and then movement. A massive structure uncloaked in orbit around the third planet. Dark steel, alien markings. And at its core, pulsating light, like a heart beating inside a coffin. The alien voice echoed across Cum's deep, mocking, "You came." Varia's expression didn't change. "You asked for rescue," she said coldly. "We brought hell." She raised her hand. "Fire." Light. The Revenant's main cannon lit the sky. Light beams of white-hot plasma tore across space. The enemy station reeled from the impact. Return fire came fast green arcs. Disruptor bolts, but the human fleet moved like hunters, not prey. Dropships launched. Armored Marines in exosuits stormed enemy platforms. Inside those halls, they found things no one was meant to see. Filled with what used to be colonists, tortured, changed, experiments, but some still lived. "We've got survivors," the ground team shouted. The rescue had begun, but so had the reckoning. The alien force, known as the Suthery, unleashed its real weapon. A biofusion leviathan, half machine, half beast, bred to kill entire planets. It roared across the battlefield, its size blocking out stars, its limbs crackling with energy. The Revenant didn't back down. "Load antimatter torpedoes," Varia ordered. The Leviathan charged. The fleet answered. Fighters danced between its limbs. Heavy gunners opened fire. Humans fought like demons with nothing left to lose. And then the final blow struck. The torpedo pierced the monster's chest, exploded from within. The beast, shattered into pieces, burning chunks of it fell onto the ruined planet below. Silence returned. But this time, it was a different silence. A silence that followed the voice of thunder. The humans had arrived, and from now on, without consequence, darkness surrounded them, cold, silent, endless. Captain Elias Monroe stood on the bridge of the Vanguard, his eyes locked on the tactical display. It showed nothing. It just black space and a few scattered stars. But everyone on the ship knew that silence wouldn't last. The Empire was coming. Again, but this time, they weren't running. The last message from the Allied fleet had been a single word: surrounded. No follow-up. No beacon. No coordinates. Just that. It was a trap. Everyone knew it, and still the humans came. The Vanguard was one of 12 warships sent to respond. Not to rescue, but to punish. They knew no one would be alive to save. Empire didn't leave survivors. Not after what happened at Antares-6. Commander Diaz entered the bridge. Final check complete. Weapons online. Stealth field at full capacity. Elias nodded. His voice was calm, but hard. Then we wait, like ghosts. In the void, waiting was worse than war. Time slowed. Breaths felt heavier. But Monroe had patience. It was humanity's weapon now. They didn't fight with blind rage anymore. They learned, adapted, and evolved. Suddenly, the tactical display lit up. 10 Empire cruisers decloaked. Then 20. Then 40, sir. Diaz's voice cracked. There's over 70 ships. Maybe more. All converging on grid E49. That was the exact spot the message came from. Elias didn't flinch. Send the order. Full fleet. Weapons hot. Passive mode off. No more hiding. Another officer, Ensign Rhee, turned from her console. "Sir, we're outnumbered 6-1. Long pause. Then Elias smiled. "Good. They won't run this time." Back in the heart of the Vanguard, deep systems came alive. The pulse cannons spun up. The nuclear-tipped lances were armed. The ship's AI whispered across the intercom, confirming target lock. Human fleet is engaging. The Empire's fleet opened fire first. A wave of plasma torpedoes lit up the black space like a dying star. But the Vanguard was already moving fast. Surgical. Dancing through fire like it belonged in the chaos. All 12 human warships emerged from their hiding points. Each one unleashed everything they had. And in the middle of that storm, Elias watched quietly as the enemy formation began to twist, crack, and burn. They weren't used to resistance. They weren't used to vengeance. Empire ships screamed across. Comes in a dozen languages, begging for backup, calling for retreat routes, shouting codes that meant emergency surrender. But there was no reply. The humans had jammed everything. The Vanguard pierced the heart of the enemy formation. Its front railgun shattered the Empire's lead dreadnought in one clean strike. No flare, no warning. It's just instant death. Elias stood. Firm. They wanted us scared, he muttered. But we brought fire. One by one, the enemy ships started breaking formation. The Empire's mighty fleet, the same one that burned colonies, took prisoners, and left warning markers in blood, was now running. But the humans didn't stop, because this wasn't just war anymore. It was a reckoning. In the command center of the Empire's flagship, Admiral Kelthor watched in silence. His once proud eyes were filled with confusion and fear. "How?" he whispered. "How do they keep rising? We broke their worlds." One of his aides trembled. "Sir, there. Ships, they don't stop. Even when hit." Kelthar stared at the screen. 3 human ships were on fire, hulls broken, but still fighting, still moving forward. It's like they don't care about dying. The aide added Kale. Tar finally understood. "No," he whispered. "They care. That's why they fight so hard." Before he could say more, the Vanguard breached their shields. One shot, and the flagship disappeared into flame. Back on the Vanguard, the bridge was silent. Elias didn't smile. He didn't celebrate. He simply stared at the wreckage outside the viewport. The battle was over, but this wasn't the end. "This is what happens," he said coldly. "When you make us come looking." Silence returned to the void, but it wasn't. This silence was heavy, and the stars knew. The reckoning had only just begun. The galaxy was quiet, too quiet. All eyes turned to Sector 912. That's where the human fleet vanished. That's where the alien destroyers fell silent. That's where the war stopped. For now, the Council's emergency meeting was tense. No species spoke. The Arxen leader twitched nervously. The Drex ambassador checked his oxygen mask again and again. Even the cold-blooded Exertal seemed uneasy. And then it came. A transmission. Not a scream. Not a distress call. But something. Far worse, a message. One single broadcast, sent from the human command ship, Resolute Wrath. It began with silence. Then static. Then a voice. Cold. Calm. Human. This is not a rescue operation. This is not a negotiation. You hurt our people. You took what wasn't yours. And now we answer. The silence after those words felt heavier than gravity. BROADCAST continued. Human ships had destroyed 22 fleets. Not just beaten, obliterated, vaporized. Systems erased from star maps. Orbital platforms melted. Entire moons fractured. The video evidence followed. Ships made of black alloy cutting through. Armadas like fire through dry leaves. Human AI drones that dodged laser nets. Super heavy dropships punching through atmosphere like meteors. A planet. Once controlled by the Karsu was now spinning out of alignment, its crust broken open. Its command tower floated in space, cracked in half. Inside, alien bodies drifted. Still, cold, lifeless. Every council member watched in silence. One dared to speak. They said they came to help. The voice on the video replied again. As if it heard the question. "We came because someone asked for rescue. They begged for mercy. You gave them horror. We brought fire." Another clip rolled. This one wasn't about weapons. It was about people, civilians, human ones, bloodied, crying, children hidden under burned buildings. Old scientists, tortured, for refusing to share Earth's secrets. That was the last push. The council chamber. Once filled with proud rulers of galaxies, now looked like a room of cowards who had poked the wrong creature. A final sentence appeared on the screen. "This is not a threat. This is the last warning." Then the feed cut off, but the silence that followed stayed forever. The human fleet didn't return to Earth. They went deeper, to the edge of known space. To every place the cries for help came from. Planets where the weak were being crushed, where invaders ruled, now saw the sky fill with Earth's warships. They didn't talk. They didn't wait. They acted. One world had outlawed speech for its slaves. When the humans came, the sky turned red with fire. In one night, the towers of the slave masters fell. The next day, for the first time in generations, people spoke. Freely, another colony had begged the council for food. They were denied, and the humans dropped automated supply factories from orbit, and right behind those, war droids to ensure no one stole the food again. No one could stop them. No one dared, but not everyone hated them. On planet Zarella, a young girl once sent a message into space, asking for someone to protect her village from raiders. She didn't expect an answer, but months later, a black and silver machine landed. Near her village, she watched from behind a tree as 3 humans stepped out, eyes scanning, weapons ready. They asked only one question: where are the ones who hurt you? And then they went hunting. Those raiders never returned. Back on Earth, things were different now. The president didn't sit in the old office. She sat in a command chair in the orbiting Peace Dome, a floating base armed with defenses that could shatter moons. Behind her were generals, scientists, historians.
They didn't cheer war. They didn't cheer.
They didn't want destruction, but they remembered. Remembered the time the galaxy turned away when humans screamed. Now, it was the humans who answered the galaxy's screams. One admiral said it best: "We are not your conquerors. We are your consequence." The last part of the message Earth sent wasn't seen by the Council. It was stored on a hidden relay beacon, buried deep in a dead planet encoded in human AI cipher. It read, "They asked for rescue. You brought judgment. Let this be the last time mercy is mistaken for weakness." And far beyond, in the dark void between galaxies, something moved. A new ship, a new purpose. Humanity wasn't done. They were just beginning.